I said it would take us all of 2 minutes to get off schedule, and lo and behold, it takes us all of 2 minutes to get off schedule. We just can't get right. But that can only mean one thing. Yes, folks, it is time once again for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. And just like a spine, I'm back, baby. Yeah, I know I took a little bit of hiatus. I had some stuff that I needed to deal with. But the hostess with the leastest is back again. I'm Mike. I am joined, as always, by my compadre in all things soccer and podcasted related. Stead, how you doing?
Doing great. Glad to have you back. It was a little weird running the show without you. I was like, I haven't done this in a while.
You realize what it is I actually do when you have to do it?
Yeah. Well, I think the problem was also, I think my daughter's had a runny nose for about 4 months straight. So needless to say, I was going on about 3 hours of sleep that day too. So I was trying to keep the Zoom going as well as, try to keep my eyes open as well. So, but hopefully.
All right. Cue dad joke here. If her nose is running, why don't you catch it?
Yeah, really. I wanted to take some duct tape and just tape it shut to keep it from running everywhere. But man,
I've got some sutures, a blowtorch, and a set of pliers. Take care of that right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I thought it went all right though last week. I thought we had a good show. Went pretty good. I think I got the time wrong though. I think I said we went 82 minutes and we went 92 minutes. But hello, math teacher. Got to do a little bit better on that end.
The one thing I would expect of you is that you can count.
Yeah.
And then there is our friend down below us, as we look at him on screen, who says math with an S, because we learned in anything in England, they don't take math, they take maths.
Correct.
So one set of outs in a cricket game is an innings, as opposed to an inning in baseball, which is 3 out. And then you have maths, as opposed to math. Sean, you all invented this language. Why can't you speak it?
Well, you can't say spur, can you? You've got to say Spurs. So it's a bit like math and maths, isn't it?
Yeah, but spurs come in a multiple set. Like any cowboy riding around with one spur probably has had a leg amputated.
Yeah, and if you don't have two equations in front of you, it's not maths.
Yeah, but I only deal with one at a time. So ergo, it's math.
Sounds as though you deal with a lot more than just maths, mate.
Yeah. Well, that's a discussion for another time. London, okay. Sean, how goes it, my friend? How are you doing?
Well, it was going all well up until about the 70th minute yesterday. It goes well. Obviously, disappointing results yesterday, but then I'd rather not be in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's shoes than Mikel Arteta's at the moment, to be fair.
Well, I will get into that with Coach Matt a little bit later.
You will. I know you will. Amazing that Mr. Bruce is still in a job, but then I'd be waiting in anticipation if I was going to get an £8 million payoff. And apart from that, the weather has been shocking. So thank God the cricket season's over. Nothing else to report, really. Yeah, apart from my little tour of football grounds. So
cricket season's not over. The T20 World Cup is just getting started.
Well, it is, but not in this country.
Not in this country. They are over in the Middle East and Oman and Dubai. Ireland and Scotland have been tearing up the preliminary round.
They have.
And there's a good chance that one or the other of them is going to end up in the group of death with England and the West Indies. England kicking off their T20I World Cup with a rematch of the last one versus the West Indies. Sean, normally I go for all things England, but yeah, this time I'm going to have to go for the Windies.
Are you? Oh, why are you going for the Windies?
DJ Bravo, Chris Gale, Kieran Pollard, Shimmeyer, Hetmeyer. Yeah, I like them. Plus, they're the only team of African extract that is ranked there. And when they're at full strength, they're really good. And plus, my family has West Indian origins, so I tend to skew West Indies whenever I can.
Yeah. I'm the same as you. I'm half West Indian, half English, but this time round, I am sticking with England.
Plus, I actually don't think that England's going to win. Owen Morgan's been shocking. They don't have Jaffa Archer. They don't have Ben Stokes.
No.
I do like
They got some great batsmen.
and Mills, the pitcher that they bought in, Tamil Mills, is a very interesting one.
Did you just call him a pitcher?
Bowler.
Oh.
Sorry. Bowler. I've got baseball playoffs, basketball, NHL, football.
You've got too much sport.
We're going to a rugby.
That very large brain of yours.
Yes,
you have. It's too much.
It's just all going to explode. But before we get into the rest of the show, Sean, instead, I do want to take a moment and remember Colin Powell passed yesterday. He was always, even as a young man, and then once I joined the Army, a great inspiration for me. I've learned a lot about leadership, and I still regularly quote his book whenever I'm at work or anything. And I just want to take a moment to pay my respects to Colin Powell, who passed away from complications of cancer and COVID yesterday at the age of 84. I mean, just you couldn't imagine a more inspirational figure, just in the way that he carried himself, the way that he led, how brilliant a military tactician he was, whether you agree with him or not. The Powell Doctrine, you expend all diplomatic options before you start a war, but once you do, go in with as much force as you need to get the job done as quickly as possible, has become the defining military doctrine, not only for the U.S., but for everybody, since he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, whether you agree with it or not. In fact, I think sometimes that certain people have tried to disprove it and have learned the hard way that he was actually right. So I want to take a moment to send may you rest in peace, General Powell. So I don't know how that news was covered over there, Sean, but it was definitely heartbreaking over here.
It was something that, funny enough, Jenny picked up yesterday, and we remember him very fondly, probably for the Afghanistan debacle, but I think he was equally revered over here in Britain as he was to you guys in the US. Top man.
Great guy, great leader, one of the foremost military leaders of this, of the latter half of the 20th and early part of the 21st century. So, enough of that. Gentlemen.
Oh, here's a question for you.
Yes,
when
sir.
they make the film, who should play him?
Well, normally I would have said Chadwick Boseman, but he unfortunately passed too, because apparently whenever you need somebody to play somebody, it's Chadwick Boseman. I really don't know if there is somebody who can play him right now. My gut instinct would tell me the person who has, the actor who has the gravitas to pull it off would be Aldous Hodge, which may come out of left field.
Yeah.
But if you saw his performance in One Night in Miami when he took on the role of Jim Brown, he absolutely nailed it, and he was so great at that. But Aldous Hodge resembles General Colin Powell about as much as you and I look like twins, Sean. So we're going to have to do a little bit better than that. I can tell you I would prefer that they not cast Denzel Washington.
No, I was going to
please
say
no.
Denzel.
Please no.
No?
No, I would actually go with Terrence Howard or Cuba Gooding. Mainly
Terrence
because
Howard lacks the gravitas to do it.
But my position though is that at least I think he's a good idea to peg an actor who actually has played a military figure before, even if in a fictional sense. I still think it's someone who can kind of like understand the whole military jargon, military genre, military.
I could see
stance,
I could see Cuba Gooding Jr. doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Terrence Howard lacks the gravitas to play that role. You have to have been an actor who has played somebody before. The funny thing in
Will Smith.
You know what the funny thing is, and again, if we can do away with the okay, he's not going to look like this guy, but I know he has the chops to do it. Forrest Whitaker. If you remember him playing Idi Amin in Last King of Scotland,
he was terrifying.
He was
terrifying.
he has the passion. He has the ability to get into the character. Lawrence Fishburne would also be an option.
I was thinking Lawrence Fishburne as well.
Lawrence Fishburne would be a very interesting person, but more than anything else, General Powell was somebody who was relatively unknown up through a number of years. Maybe it would be a good time to give a younger actor who may not be as well known as he was a chance. But certainly in order to get the biopic done, you're going to have about 3 actors, because he served for 35 years in the military. So probably we would go through a change. I think Lawrence Fishburne would be a very interesting choice.
Does his wife get his pension? What happens with the pension? His wife will get it?
His wife will get it.
His wife will get it. But trust me when I say the Powells are not hurting.
Oh, okay. I know a guy who I'll put it this way, a buddy of mine for my summer job used to clean his pool. So he's doing fine. He was fine.
He was fine. He invested well. He was getting several $1,000s a lecture, tens of $1,000s, hundreds of thousands of dollars a lecture. I've met somebody who once ran into him and said, despite how you look at him as a person, he really was every person. Like, he got on an elevator to do a lecture, and like his briefcase spilled open, all his papers fell out, and he was just frazzled as everybody. So, he was this kind of like, he could be that, like, just a normal everyday person who goes through the same sorts of troubles that each and every one of us do. And so, yeah.
I'm going Real Madrid today.
Ooh. Well, you know what happens when they boat race Shakhtar? Los shows up in a Real Madrid jersey. I also told him that he may not have to talk some CONMEBOL qualifying with Byron Robb, mostly because he's the only other person on this pod who follows a team.
No. We got Matt, who follows Bolivia very, very closely, just so we control Byron Robb.
He's the only one who follows a team that has a likelihood of legitimately qualifying at this point in time.
Absolutely.
Other than Rob, who follows everybody.
Right.
So welcome, Los. You're another Army guy. We were just talking about General Powell and his passing, so I wanted to give you a chance before we started to offer any words if you wanted to.
Well, I got to say he was very well respected by the troops, had a great career. It's unfortunate the way that some past president is referring to him or downgrading his contributions to our military and to our society. But you can't disregard the fact that he was the first Black Secretary of State to serve. He was a 4-star general. And though the inauspicious sort of presentation he gave on evidence that got us more involved in the Middle East, aside from that, I mean, that was a misstep there, and I think he would agree with that as well, that he probably shouldn't have overstated the situation. But the man was solid, a solid person, and a solid Army man, and it was I was sad to hear about his passing. Same as I was with Norman Schwarzkopf a few years back, about 15 years ago, when he passed. I was a little saddened to see that too, because I remember watching these guys on television. While all the different aspects of the Gulf War were playing out, and just and how they were together. They had their, well, to put it bluntly, they had their shit together. So I was saddened to see him go. But it's seems like everyone that you admire and that you follow and put up on a pedestal, if you will, that you look up to, and you try to model your ideas and behaviors after some of the things that they present to you. They all pass. All the heroes that we have and all the role models we have, they pass, and it's just a fact of life, and that's unfortunate, but it's all part of it.
Well, I guess if all of our role models pass, that means that the four of us are going to live forever, because we're role models to no one.
Well, I don't know, maybe.
All right, Los. I was asking a buddy of mine this today. Why does it seem like every time somebody has a cardiac issue in a stadium, Spurs are tangentially involved?
Because we're the original cardiac kids, man. You want to go back? I think it was. I guess the whole. Well, I mean, when you go back to when Ozzy was playing for them, it wasn't so much cardiac kids. I mean, we won the FA Cup and had a lot of good seasons. I think the real cardiac test came in the 87-88 season, when we had the chance to pull off a treble and came up with nothing. And that's the original, grabbing the chest and Elizabeth, I'm coming. But it was, it's so we have our share of the cardiac moments historically. But it's it's unfortunate that these situations have happened, one on the pitch and one just a few rows up. Fortunately, the AED did what it's supposed to do, and we have that Newcastle supporter and Christian Eriksen still with us as a result, and that is science, man. That is science.
And full credit to the Spurs bench for having the wherewithal to know that something was going on.
Oh, Reguilon heard from the crowd. He heard the crowd yelling and screaming, and he pointed out to the referee. The referee stopped play, and Eric Dyer runs over to the bench area. He says, "Where's the AED? We need the AED." The guy comes up, the AED says, "I got it right here." And Dyer's like, "Get your ass over there." And shoot him on the field.
Again, but yeah, full credit to them for the wherewithal to recognize the gravity of the situation, to act on it, and to act. And no matter how that Newcastle fans felt about Spurs prior to this game, we all are thankful for Spurs to actions during this game, so that this Geordie can be around to celebrate Newcastle's impending takeover by the Oil Barons. And they were rewarded, if I recall, with a win for this one.
Well, yes, we did win. It was 3-1 at the half. We let them get an own goal later on and made it 3-2. So it was a little more interesting. And they're actually, well, they were playing down a man at the time. Hey, what's up? They were playing down a man at the time and got the own goal because they were pressing. And so the question was, is this going to be another meltdown? And so that, you're grabbing your chest like, oh, come on, we got to get through this.
Okay, so grabbing, it may be too soon for that.
Well, it may be. Oh, and I just double checked. The officially Spurs man of the match, Sergio Reguilon.
There you go. Yes.
And more so for the actions that happened off the field that he helped direct the referee's attention versus what he did on the field. Although he did have a pretty decent game. So this was a better game for him than it was, a couple weeks ago. Yes, I know. I'm talking a couple weeks ago. So he's getting there. He's definitely a solid left wing back. I'd like to see more on the offensive end. That's what I would like to see, a little more of his crossing ability displayed and showcased.
All right, since we've already gone a little bit too far with this, what are the chances that the cardiac event in the stands were somehow related to the jerseys that Spurs were wearing on the pitch?
Yeah, I don't have that one. I got the other colorful one, the one that looks like Starry Night. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's too much purple and green for the Newcastle fan to hang on to. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that he's with us. So that's really all that matters.
So coming out of the international break, as we go into yet another Europa Conference League, and
then back into another international break. Yeah.
As we round the, what is it? You're this mathematician. What is this? The 1/8 pole, 1/52nd pole of the season.
Whatever. It's what it is. It's October.
As we get into October, how comfortable are Tottenham supporters with the state of the team as it exists right now?
Well, we're a little better than we were about a month ago. We're getting results on the field, although there's still some things that need to be fixed. And I think overall, we feel good about our team. We wish that Nuno would find the right mix in the back. I'm not certain that, I don't know what they see in Dyer. I guess he's solid, but he just seems like he finds a way to kind of muck things up. And I'm just wondering if Joe Rodon hasn't earned a chance to get back there and play, because he's but of course he's on and off injury, so that's another issue. But yeah, I don't think the supporters have given up on the team. It's only October. But we're only 4 points away from the top spot, so that's a good place to be.
Could be a lot worse. Could be a United fan.
Hey, you're only like a point behind us. I mean, it's not that. That's not that far.
But you talk about two. We'll get into the fact that there was. So we're going to switch gears with the skill of a brand new driver and a manual transmission for the first time, and go into talking a little bit about CONMEBOL qualifying and wrapping up what happened during the international break with our good friend Rob, and of course hold on with you, Los, because we know you are a devoted Argentina fan. Rob, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Just here hanging out.
Argentina, Los, looking solid. Brazil,
They are
about to qualify
again.
Other than that, though, I'm pretty sure that outside of I don't know, anybody. Everybody in CONMEBOL is still mathematically alive for qualification for the World Cup. Can we just take them all?
Honestly, we should, because it really would be a good competition. Honestly, they all can play. So yeah, I wish we could take them all.
I think they would be a lot more interesting in a World Cup than they were in the Copa America this summer, because you both told me that you don't watch South American games for joy, just watch them to see who wins.
Yeah, this is true.
That's pretty much it.
All right, so Rob, I'll start with you. Where are we in this qualification process? As it seems like it starts the day after the last World Cup and goes on until the day after the next World Cup starts.
Well, we had a condensed schedule because of the pandemic. So there's been a bunch of windows where it's been like 3 matches in the window. And there's also been kind of some hiccups with players coming in from the UK or mostly England in the Premier League. And so that's been throwing a monkey wrench to things, especially players like Alex, for example, and Anderson from Brazil. I think they didn't even go back to England to play in the Premier League this week. They just went straight to wherever they're playing in Champions League. So it's starting to break up a little bit. You're starting to see a shift, the divide here. And right now, it looks like it's going to be 1 through 6 is the divide, and Brazil being in number 1 spot, and Chile being in the 6th spot. After that, I know Bolivia. That, I know if you're listening, they still have a shot here, but I think that's the dividing there as far as the talent goes. And Venezuela is all the way at the bottom, followed by my team, the Peruvians, who are not doing well at all. It's been a shambolic showing, and it's just been depressing all around. But if I were to pick a surprise team in the qualifiers, it's really been Ecuador. Ecuador is in third position, and I think that might make it in the playoffs because the competition might catch up to them by the World Cup.
I think Rob is suffering.
Is it just me, or does Rob sound like a Dalek?
Yeah, he's exterminate.
Hey Rob, I'm gonna mute you really quickly and then unmute you. And then okay, you mute.
Yeah,
okay.
but he was saying exactly what I would have, which was of all the teams.
Can you hear me now or no? How's
Yeah,
that
that's better.
You're better. I think you were telling us.
You're talking about Ecuador.
I was about to ask that question before you got to them. Of all the teams, Ecuador right now through 12 games, so well through half of this slog that is CONMEBOL qualifying. Ecuador sitting there in third place on 17 points, looking like they have at least a shot to get through to the playoff round.
Yeah, definitely. And even though the last 5 games they've only got 1 win, they are still getting. That's a crucial thing, especially on the road. If you can get there on the road and you win some home games, then that's most important to you.
Hey, Stead, you need to get him a new mic too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
So, Los, what do you make about the state while we get Rob back? Gremlins.
Oh yeah, I know Gremlins. What? I'm sorry. State what?
What do you make of the state of CONMEBOL qualifying?
CONMEBOL. Well, obviously Brazil, Argentina, the 2 strong teams are at the top of the table. No surprise there. Argentina looking solid. Messi and Lo Celso working well together. I don't know if you saw any highlights at all, but Lo Celso had some passes that were really, really awesome. And they're just playing very well together. I think when you're talking the top six, and I think that's what CONMEBOL sends is 6 plus 1 of the playoff, I think, or something like that.
It's 5 plus 1 in the playoff.
5 plus 1. Okay, so you got Uruguay at the bottom of the top 5 presently, but there's quite a few match days left to play still. I think they play 18 match days, and you got 11 played by Brazil and Argentina because of that one the one match that got interrupted happened a few weeks ago that involved some Tottenham players. Again, Tottenham in the news, and not just in the periphery, but they're in the middle of all this. So if you got the top 5 there, Uruguay is at the bottom of the top 5 with Colombia, Ecuador, Argentina, Brazil. But you're looking at number 6, Chile presently, but it's not theirs necessarily for the playoff. You got Bolivia, Paraguay, and Peru all still in the hunt, because they're only like a couple points off with like 6 matches left to play. It's just way too soon to say who's going to grab that 5th or 6th spot, because there's a lot of football to play still. So, but one thing is for sure, Venezuela is probably not going to do much of anything. And they're going to remain.
I think that was the one that we were going to say. And Peru, who were the shot qualifier 4 years ago, not looking in great shape this time around.
Right, but they got 11 points, and with eight matches left, I mean, anything can happen.
Anything can happen still for them. Well, 6 matches left for them.
All right, 6 matches, right.
But what a story Ecuador qualifying would be. I mean,
yeah, they're looking pretty. I mean, recently, a little wishy-washy. They got 1 win in the last 5 matches, but they're winning when they need to, and that's why they're up at 3rd place in the table presently.
And Rob, you know better than anybody. Who's on this Ecuador team that we should even pay attention to?
Honestly, I really don't know. I mean, they have mostly domestic players, but which is why they have actually like an MLS player in there as well, and they do have a player from Leverkusen. But other than that, I mean, they're just a mixture of like 2nd tier league players, and sometimes that's the best way. If you have a star or two, that's great, but this way, like, everyone contributes here, and there's no one really relying on anybody. So it's a team effort, and when you need to get a point on the road, that's what's going to happen. Every once in a while you need a superstar, but the team effort is what's going to bring you the consistent results. And it looks like they got the right formula. And sometimes that's all you need is the right formula and right mixture of players. And if you get a little bit hot, especially in the three game windows, you can pick up good 6-7 points sometimes, and then it can really take you far. And because you still have that chemistry that you build within that group in that 2-week international break. So maybe that's the formula. And it's a slug, these qualifiers, because it's really just straight out 1 home, 1 away, and versus everybody. It's really simple, and no like rounds here and there, 1 3rd place player in the groups and everything. No, it's just really simple, and they're just getting results. And I think they're going to make the playoff. And if they make the playoff, they're going to win the playoff.
They definitely gotten some interesting results. After coming off of a loss in Venezuela, they go into Colombia and get a draw, getting a draw against Chile. They've done getting a draw again. They've definitely done through the second part of qualifying what they need to do.
They beat Matt's Bolivia.
They beat Matt's Bolivia. it seems every qualifying go round, CONMEBOL manages to throw in that team that we didn't necessarily see coming. They can have more success certain times than others. For example, Peru making it in 2018. Didn't see that one coming. They did not have the greatest go around when they got there. But then, even when Uruguay re-announced their emergence, or Colombia, the first time that they had qualified in a long time, at least when they got there in the late aughts and early teens, when they got there, they definitely made a statement when they showed up. I just feel like one of the conferences that you don't want to get drawn against anytime you see qualifying going on is CONMEBOL. So, Los, we want to thank you for coming on. We're going to catch up with Rob and turn it over to him to tell us a little bit about the German league and why it is now all down to Bayern Munich and how many points they can rack up.
It's always Bayern Munich. It's always
Bayern. It's always Bayern.
It's always
why, Rob, is the question to any question involving the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich?
You know what it is? It's because they just get everything right. All the decisions, down to player personnel, to the manager, to how they play, they just do it right. And they get it right. They're just really good at that. And every once in a while, we want to root for a team that potentially challenges them. Instead, actually was picking the Leverkusen Bayern match as his game of the week. And I actually thought it would be a good game too. And then once again, we saw another pretender alongside Dortmund, alongside Leipzig. Leverkusen is now officially a pretender. We thought they were good. And then Bayern just smacked them around a little bit, dropped 5 on them. It got so bad that they needed an aspirin. And didn't have to go far because, they were at home. And, the factory's like, a couple miles down the road. But man, it was just a pure thrashing by Bayern and Lewandowski and Gnabry and Thomas Muller all over the pitch, man. It was beautiful. It's a work of art in pressing. I mean, what can we be on side? Like, what's Bayern supposed to do? Like, lose on purpose to make things interesting? No, that's not how they do things.
So Leverkusen goes. The challengers have come up thus far this season, and Bayern has seen them off. Right now, they're sitting after 8 games on 19 points. But Dortmund is just 1 point behind them. They saw off Dortmund earlier in the Super Cup finals, but they won't play them again until December 4th, which is right before the German break. How do you see the league shaping up over the next, let's call it 60 days, as we wait for Der Klassiker to come about? Are we going to be looking at the same spot that the same type of league that we are right now, or are Bayern going to do find a banana peel and slip on it?
No, I think Bayern will still be in the top spot by the time the Klassiker comes. It's going to be whether Leverkusen is within sniffing distance of second spot, because they got like we just said, they got smacked, and it's a young team. They do have a lot of young players. Can they rebound from that? I don't know. I want to assume because they're really talented. As far as the rest of the table, you have Freiburg at 4th. They're doing their usual thing, right? This is what they do. They every once in a while they'll tease you. They say, you know what, maybe this Freiburg team's gonna make a Europa League spot, and they're in 4th right now, so they're in the Champions League spot. And then usually by January, February, that all just ends. They fall apart, and then they go back to be mid-table. Union Berlin, I mean, it's be interesting with them because currently they're in the Europa League spot. They're playing in the Europa Conference League. So they do have to play European matches. And so do they have the depth to also play, quality players during the Bundesliga schedule? That's very new to them. So I don't expect them to still be in fifth. I do expect Leipzig to move up because I think even though they lost today, they did have a spirited performance against PSG. And so because of that, I think they're going to start picking up some points. I think they're going to start moving up, at least into Europa League spots here. And I think Gladbach too will also start to snip the Europa League spots because there's just too much talent on that team, especially the emergence of the young American fullback and Joe Scally, who's starting almost every match. He's playing on the left, he's playing on the right. He's actually contributing now on the defensive end, but on the offensive end as being a provider in the final third. So we're going to see some shifting here in between the lower top of the mid-table and the mid-table, but I think you're still going to see a Bayern, a Dortmund, and a Leverkusen be there by the time the Klassiker comes. And then depending on how that goes and depending on how Leverkusen's doing, you might see a little bit of shifting in the top three there.
You've got Bayern, you've got Dortmund, you've got Leverkusen in 1, 2, and 3. Then if you go down a little bit, down to sixth place, about 1/3 of the league is in between 10 and 13 points. So the separation in between Mainz in 11th and Wolfsburg in 6th is 3 points. 6 out of 18 teams are grouped in that group in between 10 and 13 points.
Don't sleep on Hoffenheim.
Yeah, Hoffenheim's in there, RB Leipzig's in there, Köln's in there, Mönchengladbach's in there, Mainz. There's some heavy hitters. If we look at this in F1 terms as the mid-pack, who's going to break away and join the leaders, challenge or overtake the Union Berlins and Freiburgs? Who's going to fall down the wayside and join that relegation battle, which is right now in between Augsburg, Arminia, and Greuther Fürth?
Okay, I think the second, and I think you're going to see Hertha Berlin start to move down into the relegation zone, along with a Bochum. Frankfurt currently teetering there, but I think they're just too good of a team, too big of a team to be relegated.
Remember, we said that about Schalke, and we saw what happened.
I know, you're completely right. I hear you. I totally get it. I mean, can it happen 2 years in a row? I mean, I don't know. And as far as the mid-table goes, I think the two teams that are going to make a move by the end of the first half of the season is going to be Leipzig and Gladbach. I think those two teams, and you can even throw Hoffenheim in there. I think Hoffenheim, I know they're ninth, and I know they got Bayern this Saturday coming up, which does not look good for them. But looking past that, I think they could pick up some results here and still be within striking distance of a European spot. Other than that, I mean, I see Köln drop in. I don't think Köln's, good enough to stay in 7th. And Wolfsburg, I don't know with them. I mean, they do have some young players and talented players. They have a rookie manager. They are playing Champions League too. And so for all we know, they can make the knockout. It's still a few more rounds to go there. So I don't know how to go with Wolfsburg because they're just still a little bit of a mystery there. So yeah, well, it's gonna be exciting. You're gonna see a lot of shifting because it's just so tight there. But only in the top 3 will you see much shifting. And let's not forget that massive goal differential that Bayern has. Bayern I think has a 21 goal differential, and I think Leipzig is like an 8, and Leverkusen a 9, Dortmund's an 8 as well. So there's no way you have to overtake Bayern to win this league, and it just won't happen this year again.
So
I'm going to be heading out, guys, but I did want to remind you also, a Clásico happens on Sunday. Barcelona and Real Madrid kicks off at 10:15.
You know what? Somehow, I'm not even going to be sarcastic. Somehow, given the state of both teams, I actually missed that El Clasico was coming up. Either I already thought it had happened, or I really didn't care, because neither one of them are pulling up any great stakes right now. This has got to be, Los, the least anticipated El Clasico I can remember in over a generation.
It's this one's not going to be, well, I'm going to say it's not going to be pretty. They still got to play the game, and the players still, they feel for their badge, they want to go and play well for their team. But let me tell you, it's not the Cristiano Ronaldo versus Lionel Messi. It's not that. Those days are gone. Those games were great. Those times were great, but it's everything else. It's fleeting, and it moves on, and things change. So it should still be a pretty raucous atmosphere, because it always is. And I'm just glad the fans are back in the stands.
I think we need to take a page out of the Mayan ball game for this one. The winner is stuck staying in the European Super League.
And the loser?
Well, they get to go back and win La Liga. Remember, when the Mayans played, it was the winner that got sacrificed, not the loser. We're gonna sacrifice the winner of this to the European Super League. Maybe that'll entice them both to draw or something like that.
They'll be in a league of their own. That's where they'll be.
Right now they are.
Right. Well, I'm out, guys. Enjoy the show.
Thank you. Take care.
Take it easy.
We're going to welcome on our good friend Celtic Cam in a second, but right before we do, Rob, last thing for you guys. How'd you feel about the overall window for the U.S. and where CONCACAF World Cup qualifying stands as we head out of the October window?
I feel pretty good. They're in second, which is positive. I think the next window they could get 3 points, and it's probably going to be away to Jamaica. But overall, I think they're growing up together. I think that's the thing we have to remember. When they played Costa Rica, they fielded a team that was super young, probably the youngest team they had on the lineup sheet, based on overall age. I think Zach Steffen was the oldest one at 26 or something. And so they're going to make mistakes. They're going to be inconsistent, but they're growing up together. They need these games together to grow together, and it's going to be important for them. I mean, it's a taught task for them to go out and beat Mexico again, because they beat them in the Nations League, they beat them in the Gold Cup final. To do it again in the World Cup qualifying, it's going to be a tough task for them three times in a year. But even if they lose, I think they have a good chance of qualifying. So I'm positive. I'm really positive here. I think the only sad thing is that it seems like we're not going to get Giovanni Reina and Christian Pulisic for the next window, because they're both still hurt, and their injuries are taking longer than anticipated to come back from. So it is a little bit depressing there, because we never really had the full starting lineup that we always want as USA fans. But this is what happens, and we just hope they get healthy and come back for the January window. So and look out for Canada, folks. Canada is playing amazing over there. I'm scared of Canada, honestly. They're playing really good. They took it to Mexico in Mexico. They could have won that game easily.
Yeah, Canada has definitely won some converts with how they're playing. And don't look now, Jamaica climbing up the table. They've got up to 5 points. Still trailing a Costa Rica team that I'm not sold on. And Panama, who I didn't think was going to be able to hang around, still hanging around in fourth place, looking for that transfer spot. All right, Rob. Well, we're going to move on and join our good friend, probably the happiest Scotsman that I know right now, coming off of a really solid couple of weeks. Scotland controlling their destiny as far as making the World Cup playoffs, and Celtic with a big win today in the earliest of all early Europa League games. So, Cam, I'm going to let it give you the choice. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the national team.
So, who's happier right now? You or London Sean with the performance of your national team?
Well, it's I think it's a little bit bittersweet on our side. We've won the last 4 games, only losing to Denmark, who are unbeaten, have 27 goals and none against them. Phenomenal team. But at the same time, there are questions around Steve Clark, particularly, the players he's picking, as well as, are the players really pulling their weight? We played the Faroe Islands our last game. We won 1-0 with a goal right at the end. And we started with 7 players that play in the Premier League. Should we be winning by more than a goal against the Faroe Islands? Absolutely. Similarly with Moldova. We've got people like Robertson, Tierney, Dykes, McTominay. I think don't get me wrong, it's good we're winning, but if we're scraping past a team like Faroe Islands and Israel, who Israel's rated like 86 and we're 45th in the world, I think there are some questions to be asked if we are truly punching where we should be punching. Again, I was happy with the win against the Faroe Islands, running around the house, losing my voice, but I shouldn't be getting that excited about a win over a team like that, I think.
But hey, all's well that ends well. You guys still control your own destiny.
That's the thing. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's the result that counts. Very true.
And what would it be qualifying if Scotland didn't make tough sledding out of something? Like, it wouldn't be Scotland if there wasn't some drama involved.
No, of course not. We also have to make it as difficult as possible for ourselves, without a doubt. That's how it's always been. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon by the looks of it.
I mean, it's not just rugby or in football, anything. A good Scotsman likes a good story and a good sense of drama, right?
Exactly.
So let's make it as difficult as we humanly possibly can.
You got to be the underdog, even if it's not the case whatsoever.
So, elsewhere, Celtic picking up a huge win today.
Yep. Terrible kickoff time, as I'm sure many of you've seen with the banner that was displayed by the Green Brigade. 3:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, because no one works or has school apparently. But a really big win there, an important win to really put some points on the boards for us, especially against a team that, last time we played them kicked us out of the Champions League. So really, really big win, solid performance from the team today. I think we're really starting to see Angie's style of play coming in here, very fast paced, take control of the game at the beginning, take it all, give nothing sort of thing.
We said that before. Then the old firm happened. Then it went off the rails for about a month.
Yeah.
Now you've gotten it back. And they're going into another stretch of games. I think the most important of which will be in about a fortnight when they have to play Ferencváros again away, because if they're able to get out of there without losing, it looks like that will be enough to solidify European football, be it the Europa League playoffs or the Europa Conference League for Celtic, and a rare foray into post Hogmanay European football for Celtic.
Yeah, I think that is going to be a really big game. And I think you've hit it on the head perfectly. It gives us a chance to really get into that qualifying, possibility type area. Again, shame we're kind of really fighting hard for it. It is the Scottish way, as we said. But I think that's going to be his concentration right now, is really making sure that we get some European football after Christmas. I think there has been questions surrounding him, especially recently, if he's actually, doing the job that he's always said he's going to be doing. And I think this is going to be the possibility or the chance for him to really make a mark and show the fans that, it's not all just talk, that he can get us qualified for European football. Again, albeit if it's Europa League or, the kids league. But I think the fans are looking for that as a big judgment point there. I think that's really going to determine how the rest of his career at Celtic goes.
Elsewhere in the SPFL, we've all assigned ourselves a team. Mine is not doing great, but Celtic Trail right now, Hearts, the Huns, Hearts, and Dundee. They've got a game coming up this weekend against Hibs. Who else should we be paying attention to in the SPFL?
Yeah, so, you mentioned Dundee, and Dundee has been playing fantastically recently. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's, that they've got that fighting spirit back, but I think Dundee is a really important team to watch. Similarly, I think Hibs actually, in fact, again, I'm a big fan of Nisbet. I think he's a fantastic young player. I think he's going to be a great player for Scotland once he gets that chance. But I'm really liking him at Hibs, and I think Hibs are looking really good. So, my three for interesting teams in the SPFL to watch over the coming weeks would definitely be Dundee, Hibs, and of course Celtic. You always got to watch Celtic.
Well, that makes it easy because on the 27th midweek game,
yep,
Celtic travel up the road to Edinburgh, where they play Hibs. This week they've got St. Johnstone. Any games that we should be on the lookout for this weekend?
So obviously, I think the biggest one, and again, not my bias, I think is going to be Celtic Hibs. That kind of Catholic rivalry in the SPFL. That's a pretty big one. So that would be my pick for the big game this weekend, especially because, again, this is an opportunity for Celtic to really move up the table if they can beat Hibs and put themselves in a much better place, much better place. So, that would be my pick of the week. Again, no bias. I just think it's two teams quite strong, some really quality players there. And I think it's going to be quite the game for sure.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for joining us, and we're going to welcome on two more good friends of ours. Coach G, rocking the hoops.
Love it. Respect.
Yes, sir. Yeah, even though we lost against you guys last weekend, but that's all right. We got Dundee coming up, and hopefully we'll win that one and kind of move up the ranks like you guys. So yeah,
there you go.
Wait. G, who is your team?
Motherwell.
Oh, you're Motherwell. Okay. I was looking at the hit. You've got the Celtic shirt on, and then you're talking about we lost to you guys, and I'm like, yeah, I know I've had a few, but I don't remember how we've transposed the third person. But anyway, yes.
Yeah, buy yourself a Motherwell shirt. Get a Motherwell shirt. That'll be like 10% of their transfer budget right there.
Yeah, so that website that you sent, that's where I'm gonna get my Motherwell uniform from. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I've got it. I think I've got to invest in an Aberdeen shirt, but I'd like them to actually win a game before I do it.
Yeah, but $35 for a kit for that one site. Who cares? Have some fun with it, man. But but Celtic's deep in my heart. That was my first club team that I played for as a little kid. So I gotta always wrap the hoops, and no matter what, But yeah, Motherwell's my team right now for this little fun little.
I would like to point out there's a whole lot of Celtic love for you right now, Cam, on this show.
It's great. I'm loving this. This is what it should be every show. Just 10 minutes of just loving Celtic.
Mm-hmm. So you can go back and you can show all your Celtic supporters, friends, like I'm on this show where they talk about English football and other stuff, but for some strange reason, they all like Celtic.
People will be confused for sure.
Well, so thanks a lot, Cam.
Thank you, guys.
Gee, how goes it, my good friend?
Life is good, man. We got homecoming this week at the old Warren Easton, so it's kind of celebrating the new culture that I'm diving real deep into, man. It's fun. So besides that, yeah, life is good, man. Arsenal for the last 6 games, we haven't lost a point or dropped a point, so can't complain.
And how are things going for you over at Schalke?
Things good. We're in 3rd place right now. We got what I think like 19 points, so we're about 3 behind. We got Dynamo this week, so we're looking good right now. Frazzle, our goalie's putting some good numbers, stopping a lot of stuff. So we're on the up and up right now. So if we beat Dynamo this weekend, hey man, we're tied for 1st. So life is good. Next stop, we're gonna go to Bundesliga, the old #1 league. So here we come, baby, back on top.
You know what? I'm still waiting for them. Yes, they do have to play St. Pauli.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that I actually want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So
Probably on a very deep, channel deep in the internet somewhere you'll find it. But yeah,
the team that wears Rob will jump back on him. Is St. Pauli still like the only club that wears brown as one of their predominant colors?
I think so. Because I believe there's other teams who wear brown, but like the away or the alternate in shades of brown. But no, I think St. Pauli is the only one who wears brown as like the main home shirt. But also, they make them all locally now. So all the shirts are locally made in the St. Pauli area, in Hamburg. So yeah, they don't have like a Nike or an Adidas or anything. It's all local.
I may need to go against you guys in this race, G, and go for St. Pauli.
Fair enough.
Great beer signs, brown kits.
Right.
Brown is an underutilized color in sports jerseys. Yeah, well, and we know why. Anybody want to look at an ugly jersey, just go pull up the Del Rand jersey. And you'll see why we don't use the color scheme brown and yellow. Anyway, this is typically the point on the show where I turn it over to Stead, Sean, and G and give them a couple of minutes to hash out all things Arsenal. So, yes, it's our favorite point, the Arsenal rant. Take it away, dear Stead.
Well, I mean, G said it best. I mean, you got to be disappointed in dropping points to Crystal Palace, but you also have to give some respect to Patrick Vieira. I mean, he was kind of set up to fail this year as far as what he was starting with. So the fact that he has that team competitive and looking pretty good, it's a lot of people were saying that game was a possible job audition for Patrick Vieira. But if you want an intimidating presence in the locker room, I think you'd all agree that he's definitely one. I mean, I would hate to have to face down with him.
I would love to have him as coach. He looked good on the sideline.
He's but he's about 6'5", man. I mean, that guy's no slouch.
He knows the Arsenal way through and through. And why wouldn't you want him as coach?
But
he's the better coach. I'm sorry, the better player for the club than Arteta. So.
Yeah, but you got to say this too, though. I mean, yeah, Arsenal has not lost a game after the first 3. They've gotten a point every game. And you look at outside of, the top 3 teams, Arsenal's right with them. The only team that scored more points is Chelsea over the past 5 games. So, it's you wish they would have pulled that one out, of course. But I think with the team, Sean, you said it best. We're still probably 2 transfer windows away from really being competitive for the top 4. So, yeah, I can't say I'm disappointed, or I can't say I'm happy, but I can't say I'm disappointed either. So, Sean, why don't you go ahead and pick this up, since you probably have a better perspective on this.
Strangely, a player that I've never really been in love with ever since he joined the club and threw his armband off and all sorts, started the season very well, and we've really lost our shape and raison d'etre since he got injured. I think he's out for another month or so.
Mm-hmm.
So I would give Arteta sort of a B minus maybe. And I think if Xhaka hadn't got injured, we might well have picked up more points against Brighton and Palace. But we have to get on with what we've got. At the moment, he can't. I think it's a little bit ambitious leaving Partey to run the whole of the midfield himself somehow,
Agreed.
as much of an athlete as he is, and he's obviously a very good player. But I still think we're in good hands. I know most Arsenal fans are sort of split 50-50 with Arteta. Would I like Patrick? Ooh, I think there may have been more of a reason to employ Patrick when Arteta got the job, because Patrick had at least 2 or 3 seasons under his belt managing Nice, which was not an easy journey for him. But I've mentally given Arteta all of this season and next season. So if he gets fired between now and then, I'll have put my eggs in the wrong basket. If not, we'll see where we get to. But I would like to think that we'd be within sniffing distance next year of the top 4 place. But this will depend, obviously, on whether Newcastle buy Emil Smith-Rowe, Bukayo Saka, Aaron Ramsdale, and whoever else they can afford to buy. Sterling, probably from Man City, because he wants to go. Oh, Harry Kane, they'll buy him because he wants to go as well. They'll pay him all £17 million a week, and there we are. Bob's your uncle.
Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, like last game, I hate to say it, Byron, Rob, we snuck one out, I'm sorry, you guys should have won. How the heck did we score with, 94-38? It's 4 minutes over. It's just crazy. I don't know if this team is the exact same team that we saw against Brentford the very first game. And it just sucks that we had that first game of the season lost, still kind of hanging over. Like, how the heck do we lose against Brentford? But if we pull out those 3 points from that team in that game, man, we definitely could easily just start kind of moving up. We should be higher. We're in 12th place. Can't complain from 20th. Thank God we're out of the cellar. So we're kind of finding our own. And, we have at least one more transfer window to really see what Arteta can do. And from there, to be honest, I think he should last until the very end of the year. I'm not a big fan of getting new managers in, throughout the year and changing up the mix. Let them be in there. Let's see what happens. But let's see what he does with this next transfer window. But yeah, we're about 2-3 superstars away from going to compete in Europe. So I'm liking the direction that we have. We have some loose weight with like Leno now. We can get rid of him. He's 29 and stuff like that. We got a 23-year-old Ramsdale who's doing very well. So we're looking the right way. So there's hints of glory. There's hints like last game against Crystal Palace. Any kind of pressure in the middle of the field, we cough it up twice. They come down our throats and score 2 goals. So there's a little like immaturity kind of game like that we just have to play and let them learn in the center. But the pieces are finally kind of coming together. And I know you guys are loving Xhaka, but I'm not a fan. So I like the squad that we have right now. So again, we're about 3 or 4, 3 superstars, 4 really good players away from being a competitor. So give them one more season. Let's see what happens. But yeah, it'd be kind of cool to see Vieira on the sideline for us.
Yeah, I have to say that, I haven't been pro Xhaka at all, but clearly there's something he provides that it's difficult for most fans to see. There is a lack of maturity in the squad with him not being there. And even though he gets the dumb foul or yellow card that just really seems to irk me, he is providing some level of stability in the back of that midfield that would probably have prevented some of those sloppy goals that Arsenal has given up recently from happening. So he does something right. And there's something that soccer people who are way more in tune to the game than I am are seeing with him. And which is why he's still able to have the issues that he's had of throwing the armband and flipping the fans the bird and still get welcomed back into the squad without too much complaint from those who were angriest at him, so, or most angry at him. So
he's got a new contract now.
And he got a new contract. Yeah. So I think that if not him, it definitely could probably use another hard-nosed, tough player, because I know we've talked about the show in the past how this team seems to lack some grit. And I'm not saying that Xhaka provides it, but there's something that that he seems to have a little bit of that seems to help the squad. So hopefully you can get more of that. And where's that Patrick Vieira kind of player who, as Mike, you said, you put your foot in the ball, it says you tackle him, you're tackling me. And that there's a lot to be said about that, especially for a club that has a reputation of being pushovers. And even if they don't openly say that, I think it's pretty obvious to me that other teams know they can come in and push Arsenal around, and that's got to stop.
Doesn't look like the second midfielder is going to be Yves Bissouma, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, and when you say they push us around, I'm looking at all the weights of the squad. We have people 141 pounds. Like I had that when I was like in first grade. It seems like, you know, we have a bunch of people 148, 100.
It's like my son.
You know, we need some beefier guys. And like when we go against people like Lukaku, who's just going to have manhandles because we're 148, you know, center defender. How can we compete like that? So we need a little bit more toughness. We need a little bit more bulk in us. So we need a Vieira. We need some kind of just put your, you know, foot through a guy's knee and say, all right, good luck next time. We need that. But right now we got we have little puppets flying around everywhere out there. Seems like.
Yeah. Well, that's enough for Arsenal chat, Mike. I think we're good.
So this was the 2.5 minutes of the show that I dedicated to ranting about last week's news that Newcastle has been purchased by ostensibly Saudi Arabia. I will throw it around the horn when I'm done, but I remember when this takeover had been discussed where this Saudi Arabia investment arm had been interested in purchasing Manchester United, and I said that the human rights abuses of the Crown Prince were enough to get me to question whether or not I would remain a Man United fan if they were to take over. The scenes in Newcastle were indicative of a fan base that is like, we got the money, we don't care about much else.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely not a takeover that could have happened in the United States, right? The reason why, one of the main reasons why you can see this in the Premier League is probably one of the biggest money spinning sports organizations outside of the NFL, right? But the Saudis were never going to get an NFL team, be it for a little bit of good old-fashioned xenophobia, the stated desire to not have consortiums by teams after Daniel Snyder purchased the Redskins with leveraged finance from a couple of investors. And let's just look, the proof is in the pudding. The NFL won't even allow Mark Cuban to buy a team because they're too afraid of what he might say. I can only imagine how Roger Goodell and the other owners would feel about a team that is ostensibly backed by a regime that had a journalist murdered and dismembered. Right now, I do not, let me put this as blatantly clearly as possible, I do not have a problem with Saudi Arabia, the country, or Saudi Arabians, right? I have been to the embassy, I've talked to them. I find them to be fine people. I may disagree with them on some fundamental points about progress, but hey, that's just me. But I do have a problem with the regime and the activities of certain people in said regime, whether or not they are just rumors or have enough evidence in my book to have been proven. So yeah, this is just proof positive that the fit and proper persons test is complete and utter bullshit. You weren't allowing this to go through when you thought they were pirating your streams, but hey, once we get that solved, it's all gravy. However, I do love it, the thought of Kylian Mbappe playing on a rainy Thursday night in the northeast of England. There's something that intrigues me about the fact that somebody thinks that all of a sudden you're going to get Lionel Messi to go play in St. James's Park in Newcastle. Right? Clearly, if that is your thought, you probably have never been to Newcastle. I've never been to Newcastle, Sean. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever been to Newcastle, but I know one thing. You know what? I can die a happy man if I don't go. And again, that is no disrespect to the people who live in Newcastle. It's just not on my bucket list of places to go. So, yeah. have fun with that one. I don't think it's going to turn out the way that you think. Rob, you wanted to jump in on this, I know.
Well, Mike, you mentioned most of my issues, but I think my biggest problem has been with the fan base, and they just don't care. They don't care about anything else because Mike Ashley was his awful owner, and they think all the money in the world is going to bring them to the promised land. And they celebrated this by dressing in Saudi Arabian head garb and rushing out with Saudi Arabian flags and being ignorant about the situation with the murder of the journalist when it was right in front of them with the van with his face and name on it. It's probably a disgusting display of like just clueless fandom that I've seen from a fan base in a long time. And I'm disgusted by it because not only were they, wearing the garb of a country that, they don't is not their culture, but they were just mocking it and thinking the sport is their favorite team is going to win just because, Mike Ashley's gone and all this money will be pouring in. It's not that easy. And I said it on last week's show. It's, at the end of the day, it's about the people who make the decisions, and who knows if they're going to make the proper decisions to bring good football people in. But it just, and Mike, you said it, like, this test that they talk about, like, proper people, whatever, they care more about the freaking legal stream than, human rights issues. And then you mentioned this on social media, and you'll get all the Saudi Arabian trolls coming out the woodwork telling you about the U.S. government. And I go, well, the U.S. government doesn't own the team, doesn't own a club, And I know it's not officially the government of Saudi Arabia owning the club, but it's the investment group and who's chaired by the person who runs the country. So at the end of the day, they run it. So I hate it. It's awful. And more money in football doesn't mean it's good money in football.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know whether it's going to make a Big Six, a Big Seven anytime soon, but it'll be an interesting ride to go on. All right. So we want to welcome in Coach Matt and Larry, the insurance guy, our two fans from opposite halves of Manchester. So with all due respect to Larry, we're going to get to the shit side of Manchester right now first, the ones that are losing. Matt, we suck.
It's bad, man. As I said too, I told you guys. Mike, this, man. I've been an Ole defender through and through, and talking about the culture, turning it around from the inside, and how much I really want to see him, get there at the end of the tunnel as well, and not just be the stepping stone, but it's just not good anymore, man. I'm defeated. I'm a defeated man right now. I'm sad, but we're not going to get any better than what we were essentially last year. I just don't see how things can get better. We're just a mess in the middle of the park. I was watching Monday Night Football with Gary and Carragher, and just talking about just showing the breakdown of the game. Shearer did a great breakdown too on BBC Match of the Day as well, just showing our lack of pressing, and it's just obvious stuff. And I think the worst part too is like people that I know on the other end too that were kind of, at first I just thought that they're just pushing back on the Ronaldo signing, but there were definitely a few people I know that were saying, I really feel that, signing Ronaldo is going to kind of mess with the team a bit more than you'd think it would. And I have to kind of say it has. I feel like we were much better playing without him the first couple games. We had Greenwood in the middle. We pulled Pogba out wide left. As Carragher said, like I just can't, Bruno and Pogba just cannot play in the same midfield together in the center of the park. Like it just can't happen. Like it doesn't matter how hard Bruno works up front when others aren't doing it. Pogba is just a liability defensively, and he just doesn't want to put in the shift. And it's just it doesn't. I honestly think too. It doesn't matter the changes that Ole does right now. I just think the way they're playing, how they're trying to shoehorn everybody in, there's just no way this team can be successful the way it's playing. And I think the only way that's going to happen is if we get a new coach in. So yeah, it sucks. Not really looking forward to Sunday at all. So,
well, I think everything that you're feeling, I feel, but in a different way. My thoughts were twofold. There are many ways that a manager can lose a dressing room, right? You can be Jose Mourinho and lose a dressing room because you antagonize everybody to the point where they hate you, right? Nobody wants to play for you. We've seen this with Jose Mourinho. This is the rumors that are coming out of LSU right now with Ed Orgeron, right? The players don't want to show up. They don't want to play for you. They don't respect you. It's time to go. There are managers who lose the dressing room or never had it because the players just ignore them. Think Chelsea with Avram Grant. Right? All right, yeah, you tell me what to do. I'm going to do whatever I want to. Or even Jurgen Klopp late in his tenure with Borussia Dortmund, where whatever the message that you're saying has been heard so many times, they just filter it out.
Yeah, Pochettino.
Then there is Ole, right? I don't think Ole's lost the dressing room for any reason of those two. I think Ole's lost the dressing room because they don't trust him. I think this is an episode where when you look at the comments that Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba have both made after games recently, it comes down to the fact where they don't believe that he has the ability to take them collectively where they want to go. Which leads me exactly to what you were saying before about how the shoehorning people in, why can't Pogba and Fernandes work in the same midfield and things like that. And I think it's because they don't know where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing. There's no system, right? Jadon Sancho looks like a lost puppy right now, running around chasing his tail because he doesn't know what he's actually supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
He doesn't know when he's supposed to go forward, when he's supposed to go back, when he's supposed to look across, when he's supposed to dribble, when he's supposed to take on a guy. He doesn't know what it is because he's basically been told, go out and do whatever it is that you do. All right, so I go out, I do whatever it is that I'm doing, and where's the support? What am I looking for? What am I trying to accomplish here? Right? And so I was watching the City game, Larry, in the Champions League. And despite your feelings about Sterling, they look like a team that went in, had a job to do, and got it done, right? They knew where everybody was going to be, what everybody was supposed to be doing, what everybody was, how everybody was supposed to act, and this sort of thing. And then that age-old question, who from the United team could get into the City team, right? Okay, off the strength of it, you could, no one, right? Okay, maybe Ronaldo, maybe Rashford, maybe Shaw, right? But why is that? It's because the City players are on form. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They know what their job is. Their coach has set them up to be successful, where I at least feel right now that the players that Ole has don't believe that he is setting them up to be successful. Everything you hear is like, oh, well, the culture is great. In fact, everything that comes out of Man United sounds like it's coming out of Redskins Park with Bruce Allen. The culture here is very, very good. And then it looks like a kindergarten classroom on a half day. Everybody's happy, but work is really actually being done. I think that Ole has these 5 games until the international break, and he doesn't come out with at least 10 points out of them, it's going to be curtains. Because if he doesn't come out with 10 points, that means that he has dropped enough points in the Champions League to Atalanta because they have a back-to-back against Atlanta. He's dropped enough points to Atalanta, and he's dropped enough points to Spurs, City, and Liverpool that qualification for the Champions League knockout rounds and for the top 4 for next year will be in doubt, right? And I'll be doggone if anybody brought in Cristiano Ronaldo to win the Europa League. Like, if you want to see Paul Pogba's backside, regardless of how you feel about him, he's still a pretty quality player who, on his day in the right system, can be a functional player. But if you want to see the back of his blue dreads, go out of the Champions League, go into the Europa League, and tell him to hang around again, right? So I hope he hears the question. Yes, Sean.
Sorry, I just wanted to put in 2 very quick questions. I heard recently that the Glazers have sold 31% of the shares. Is that right?
They have sold a percentage of the shares, but yes, no, none of that goes back to the club. That is basically them giving up part of their shares. It's not 31%. It's like 13.
It's also, they're also like B level shares, like, or they're not like voting shares. So they're just giving,
It's
so
just
it doesn't mean
that was the first.
Essentially,
Well,
they just cashed in 117 million pounds and they just
It's
put it
like-
in their pocket.
Sorry, what do they need that money for, Matt? Do they need it for elsewhere? Do they
Their
need it
yacht.
for-
Their yacht. They saw
Yeah.
Abramovich got a giant yacht and they wanted to make their own. That's really it.
That's the equivalent of Otto selling his baseball cards because he wants some extra spending money this year. Like,
Yeah.
And second question is, if you get rid of Solskjaer, because you said he's got 5 games. By the way, we played this game with Arteta as well. If he's only got 5 games, who is going to take over?
hey, look, there is.
Good question.
It's a good question. I will say, last time I checked, there was a German dude who had a pretty good track record with his national team that was hanging out unemployed right now.
No way. Don't you dare put that in the universe. I do not want I don't want that booger eater on my team, man. No way.
Hey, look, Massimo Allegri's out there. You got it, but if you feel like there's anybody,
I thought he's gone back to Juventus.
Thank you, Rob.
yeah.
Oh, right.
Listen, I mean, the one thing you can say about the man is that he had,
free.
yeah, never going to happen. But look at this way. Look at it this
He's
way,
worse than Ole.
Sean. I believe, and it's a perfect analogy because it uses a wheel. Sean, I believe Otto is going to get his driver's license pretty soon, correct?
Who?
Your son Otto is going to be up for his driver's license.
He'll be eligible in 12 months. Yeah.
12 months. Otto gets his driver's license. You send him out on the road. You get him a car. He goes out and he drives it and completely strips the transmission.
Yep.
Brings it back. Doesn't work. Stripped the transmission. All right. Well, that was a used car. It was a bit of a beater. We'll put a better transmission in it. Goes out, drives it again, strips the transmission. All right. You know what? We tried. Maybe it wasn't working for him. You know, maybe there was a little catch in between first and second, right? So we got him a nice car. He goes out, strips the transmission a third time. At that point, is it the car or the driver?
Oh, at that point, I'm sending him over to you, and he can fucking go and live with you if he strips 3 cars. All
But that's what I'm saying. We have sent him out with 3 cars,
yes,
all of which are pretty damn functional, and he stripped the transmission on all 3. At what point is it not the car? Either you sit there and you say, "Look, son, it's not. It's you, not the car. We got to either get you. Either you're not going to drive, or you're going to drive an automatic."
I hear what you're saying. I've been supporting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for about 18 months, and I will continue supporting him, and I continue to want to see him.
I think he's
in
a
your
nice
dugout
guy.
because, yeah, he's a lovely guy, but he's never going to win a league title ever. Even
I have a
if
question,
Newcastle
Mike.
take him on and give him.
Mike, I don't want to pull it longer. Is the driver Ole, or is it our managers that we're putting in?
I think right now the driver is Ole.
Okay,
Um,
I just at the wheel. Okay, no, I just wasn't sure because I'm not trying. Like it's one of those. I don't know.
This one, this analogy was very specific to Ole because I had the perfect way to go.
Ole's at the wheel.
Ole's at the wheel, and
Yeah,
knowing
no,
that Sean's son is going to get his license soon, and that they predominantly drive manuals over in England. I could use that one really effectively, and then I get
no, it makes sense. I just thought you were asking too about the manager debate because I honestly don't know who comes in. Like I worry about Conte. I don't want to diverge, but I'd worry about Conte and his past. And Mike can talk to us. Mike can talk to us all about that. I don't think Zidane ever wants to come to the Premier League because I think he was happy with the team that was built for him at Madrid, and I don't want Jurgen Low. I just don't think he's good. So who's out there is the problem, other than De Haag from Ajax. That's really it.
I'm a little softer on Love than y'all. The booger eating and the armpit smelling aside.
It's not just that. I just don't think he's that good. I don't think he's that good of a manager.
I think when he started, I think he was good. I wonder what he would be. I just think like Jurgen Klopp, the message got lost towards the end. But before we get too far afield, Larry, this has got to be easy for you. Manchester City doing Manchester City things.
Yeah, it's been pretty business-like the last two games. Burnley, a little bit harder, a little bit tougher than I had expected. I was hoping for a fourth straight 5-0 victory, but they played tight. Wasn't as clean as Pep would have liked on the operating out on the field, but they did what they had to do. Today was it was probably the strongest team, and if you were to ask me who I want playing, that's the field, that's the 11 that I want playing. Mahrez needs to be in the lineup. Foden needs to be in the lineup. I mean, Bernardo is having an excellent season. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty business-like today. They looked very strong. You mentioned Sterling. He just needs to go. He's a very good player. It's confidence. It's all mental with him. He shoots when he should pass. He passes when he shoots. He does too many moves when he shouldn't. It's very frustrating watching him play. He had in the short time that he was in, I think he had 4 or 5 attempts. And I mean, 2 of them were misses that you got to put on net. Other times he was taking defenders on when he had 2 or 3 people with an easy pass in the middle. It's just frustrating with him because I know he is a good player, and for whatever happened, he doesn't fit in this role with this team anymore. Just considering the depth of the team, you know what I mean? Again, if they didn't have what they have, I mean, I think that, Grealish is slowly coming along and understanding that he doesn't. I almost like him to try to take more people on like he did with Villa. He's not doing that quite yet. Maybe he won't. Maybe Pep's telling him not to do that. But today's 11 was the strongest I've seen, and it was definitely something that, I mean, I felt very confident going into that game. Granted, it was against the weakest of the, in my opinion, weakest of the teams in their group, but they played very, very well. And I mean, Cancelo he's really stepped up. He's become a threat on both sides. His defense is mediocre, but he's such a strong offensive presence coming down that wing too. So
what do you make of young Cole Palmer, the 19-year-old who came on?
I love it. I love it. I mean, I'm kind of shocked. I don't think I don't know if that Liam Delap is hurt, because I don't think he went out on loan, and he was supposed to be their wonder kid striker in the making. So I think he is hurt, but I'm not 100% sure. It was great to see Palmer. I mean, this is the second game he's come up with them, and he's had pretty much identical goals. I mean, he's young and he's tall, but he's lanky, so he's got to grow into his body some. But it was good to see. He played well. He doesn't seem like he's overwhelmed. I I think, him just getting all these touches are just going to be, and these experiences are just going to be so good for his game, whether he stays with City or gets, they're just up in his price tag right now.
Kind of like, well, I guess Phil Foden's the last youth player I can remember actually coming through City.
It's been a while. I mean, I know that Brahim Diaz was looking like he was going to, and then he kind of fell off and got shipped over to Madrid. I can't remember where he's at right now. Yeah, I mean, Foden is really and he just signed a new 6-year deal, so he'll be there for a while, which I was very happy to see. Yeah, I mean, their academy, I think that it's rare that they hold on to players because they've been able to sell them off for nice price tags. But I would like to see Palmer stay. I would like to see Delap stay. Harwood Bellis in the back, I think it could be a presence as a center back. They've got quite a few players that you see more and more, obviously, in the lower cups that I enjoy watching those young guys play.
I think it's something of a criticism that we can level towards both City and Chelsea, the fact that they so rarely bring through the youth players. You have a certain lack of, I don't know, I think watching the players come through the ranks, get their start as kids and then play out their career, it gives you even more of a connection to the player and the team than somebody who is just brought in, plays for 5 or 6 years and leaves. I hope that for you guys that, like you said, like Delap, Foden, and this kid Cole Palmer get a shot to be successful and to play at Man City, carry that, be successful over for their respective national teams. Just like I would have loved to have seen Tammy Abraham or any one of the name a Chelsea youth player that never made it be successful for Chelsea.
I think it's so hard, real quick, Mike. It's so hard for players on teams like Chelsea, I mean, or any of the big clubs, but really the money that Chelsea and Man City have is when they have a need,
they just go out and buy it.
Yeah, unless you are an absolute stud in the making, like they saw with Phil Foden, it's tough for them to stay there to get the time to play. I mean, there was, when Phil was coming up, they kept saying, if it was any other manager, I mean, and I don't know, but any other manager, I think Pep really went out of his way to say, like, look, he's not going to get a lot of first team, minutes, but I want him training with the first team here. I want him working with me. Where, like, yeah, if Chelsea has a need, unless there's some stud academy kid coming up, they're buying somebody, and City does the same thing. So it's harder for those younger players.
It's the nurture nature debate, and we can have that how it applies to Premier League football for as long as we can fill up a whole entire season's worth of shows.
Can I just say about, I think for a really long time, Chelsea's academy was producing good players that went off and played well for other teams. But I think that one of the positives of the Frank Lampard era was a refocus on players that came up through the system. And I honestly, I don't think Frank Lampard could get a Premier League job. But if he was to get one, I mean, I think that would be a positive that you could look to as to where his value is. Because just take a look at Chelsea. I mean, over the weekend, they started Trevoh Chalobah, Reece James features in it, Mason Mount. The Chelsea Academy is producing players that are playing at Chelsea level. A lot of them, like Mount, had to go out on loan a couple times. I think, Conor Gallagher is out on loan at Palace for us right now. But he's looking like he's a worthy Premier League player. I think the way that Chelsea's been running their academy over the last, like, very recent history is producing good stuff for the team, and that's not just checks so that they can go out and buy new players. It's the actual players themselves.
Hey, look, you guys bought and sold Romelu Lukaku 75 times.
Yep. Still, I mean, if it wasn't for the last time, we'd still be up money on him.
That's what I was going to say. At this point, has Romelu Lukaku actually paid for himself?
No, I think they sold him for 37 million to Everton back in the day. So we're about 60 or so million off, but
you still got to cut at the transfer from Man United when Man United bought him.
That's right.
From Everton. So at this point in time, you know, Romelu Lukaku made so much money being sold from Chelsea that he actually bought his way back to Chelsea.
He probably bought himself a yacht to get from Monte Carlo to London as well.
So but that's one. And when we do have more time, I would like to have that debate, because it is two different approaches. And when you look at, there's a clear divide when you look at clubs like, you know, Arsenal, City, Bayern, kind of on the cusp. I mean, they have brought up their own players, but they've also gone out and bought a lot of them. But then you have clubs like Chelsea and City who have found great success buying developing players to be sold to fund transfers in, and how we look at teams from the outside that do that versus from as fans. I mean, certainly, you know, if your team is winning it and that's their system, Mike, it gets hard to complain about it, right?
Well, I mean, look, you know, we could talk about the past. I mean, when we get to Chelsea, I'll talk about transfers. I mean, you want to? You know,
seriously, Larry, what more can you say about City? They keep doing what they do.
I mean, what they're doing right now, they're extremely competitive. Why change? I mean, it's working for them. You know, again, I think briefly what we talked about with the whole Newcastle thing is they can have all the money in the world, but they've got the right system and the right people doing it. So it's kind of hard to argue what they're doing or what Chelsea is doing. It's hard to argue against it.
There is a difference in between what City are doing and what Chelsea is doing, and we touched on it last week. But it's Chelsea's in the mature billionaire stage of their ownership, where the owner doesn't want to lose money anymore, and Chelsea makes money, and Man City doesn't. They lost over 100 million pounds last year. And there's only, I mean, yes, okay, you've got $40 billion, but eventually, you know, it's what the senator said back in the day, $1 million here, $1 million there, eventually you get to real money, you know. And that's, I think that Chelsea's focus on its youth system, like, I think that there's like billionaire life cycles of these clubs. And it's like, I'm going to spend all this money. And then it's like, all right, well, we've spent all this money. What's going on? And then it's like, okay, now we're losing money. How do we make money? It's like a 20-year cycle from what I've seen.
I'd like to see what that number was if it wasn't for COVID last year, because everybody, I mean, you said Chelsea made money last year. They're probably 1% of clubs that made money last year. I'm curious to see what, and I'm not saying that City has made money over the years. I'm just curious what they would have done the 3 to 5 years prior to last year.
And Chelsea didn't hold back in the transfer market. They got Kai Havertz, 70 million. They had Werner.
That was the
50 million.
Before last. That was the summer before last.
Well, it was last year.
Okay.
Yeah, last club year.
Okay, no, that wasn't last club year.
Well,
last club year. Okay, so you're talking about last club year, so 2019.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the 2019-2020 season.
That's when they made money. Just checking.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, the Chelsea's out there. They're out there spending money, but they're making money because they sell off they bring in a guy who, 100 million pounds, and then they sell off 3 guys for 30 million. They have people just out in development, loaned out around, who look good, and they sell for 25 million pounds. I mean, it's
there's one other massive difference between City and Chelsea, which has been proven. Where would City be without Pep? Whereas you've had about 8 or 9 managers over the last 10 years. So there's things going on in the background at Chelsea that are obviously right. I would question seriously how well City would do without Pep.
I mean, we'll find out in 2023, whenever he's gone.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen where it goes without Pep when they didn't have Pep, right? He hasn't been.
Yeah, but long. I think now they're in a different. I guess they're more organized now than they were even 5 years ago. You know what I mean? They're just a different team. Yes, they had the same owners and same kind of money, but I feel like those owners were also. I mean, they were almost learning the ways of owning a soccer team as well. A club where I'm curious to see what it will be like. Whenever Pep is gone.
I am too. We said this about Bayern when Pep left, right? That as historic a club as Bayern were, Pep took them to a different level, even if he did not win a Champions League while he was there. One of the things, though, about City when it comes to Pep was the consciousness with which they recruited and set the club up to welcome Pep when Pep finally got available to take the job, right? They weren't ready for Pep when Pep left by Barcelona, but they brought in Tiki Begiristain and a lot of those people who had worked with Pep at Barcelona so that when Pep got done with Bayern, he could come in almost as if, hey, I'm coming home again. I don't know if you're going to lose as much without him because, you're not going through a United situation when Gil and Sir Alex left the same year. As long as Tiki Begiristain is still there, which I believe he still is, then some of that backroom mechanization, the organization that you talk so much about that Pep brought in may still remain, right? Will the results and the orientation of the club necessarily remain exactly how it is right now? No, but I don't think that they're going to.
Wait, Sean, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Sean, how are those disciples of Pep? How do they do as managers?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, I can't believe I'm defending a City manager as wholeheartedly as I am.
You really are.
I mean, the one disciple that he really had was Tito Villanova, and he died. Right? Like Tito Villanova was.
Let's also take a look at Arsenal's squad right now too. It's a little hard to.
I don't know how much you can really, like, what you can make of Arteta as a Pep disciple, or like Tito Villanova was the chosen one. He was Pep's number 2 for all of those years at Barca B and then at Barcelona. He was kind of the guy, and we'll never know what he would have been as Barca manager because he died. Yeah, Rob's telling me that when Tito was sick, he only came over and saw him. Yeah, but he came over and saw him. All right. When Tito was sick, Pep saw him once in New York City, but he did see him. I don't, I'm not going to say that they didn't talk. I don't know.
Anyway, Mike, can I change gears? Can I defend your manager for a second?
No. No, you can't. No, I'm not. No. Like, no. All right. Moving right along.
No, all right. Maybe not defend him, but let me make a plea to fans. You fans, you were here last year. You were here last year at this exact same point.
I have already covered this ground. Yes, we were. The problem is we were here last year again. How many times do I have to give you the keys to the car and you strip the damn transmission before I realize that you can't drive a manual? You really need an automatic.
You came in second in the league last year. Like not.
All right, but then so progress.
You were in a Europa League final.
Progress is not making the same damn mistakes every flipping season, right? Because every time you make the same mistake, yes, the reason why is because we were here the same time last year, which would have told me if you had learned something, we wouldn't be here again.
So let me tell you what's going to happen this weekend. Manchester United are going to go down 2-0 at halftime. We're all going to be talking about how, Ole's definitely fired. They'll come back, draw 2-2, and it'll be, huzzah, Ole's job is saved. And we'll be talking about that next week. And then they'll go on a 4-game run and we'll be talking about how Ole looks good again, because it's the same thing over and over.
No, I don't. And that's the problem. That's where it's like, eventually you got to stick spoken wheels. All right, dude, Mike, you literally have 3 minutes to give us a recap of the lower leagues.
Oh, I want to talk about Chelsea. Good, because we're playing Malmo.
All right, here is our Chelsea's discussion. Just like Manchester City, Chelsea continues to do Chelsea things. Moving on.
True. 1-0 last weekend. Just get used to that.
Yeah.
Lower leagues back. The championship was back. They're doing 2 match days this week. So we had no Stead tonight.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah. Oh, hey Stead, how's it going? I didn't see you there. No, I didn't see him there. What? He wasn't there. I haven't heard him all the whole time I've been on. But anyway, Stead, did you watch any of these games that I've been constantly annoying our chat group with?
Unfortunately, no. They were on, but I wasn't able to watch them.
Yeah. No, Fulham had a cracking win over the weekend, and Bournemouth today, again, staying unbeaten. The Cherries have
which was
probably
needed. They
the
desperately needed that win.
worst jerseys.
Yeah, Fulham needed that win, and Fulham needs to get more wins.
Yeah. No, I mean they have to.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still only 2 points out of automatic promotion, so it's not panic time.
Bournemouth passed the most common saying in British football, which is, "Can you go and win in a horrible, windy, rainy night at Stoke on a Tuesday night?" And they did.
They did. Bournemouth's looking good.
Ever since they got rid of Jack Wilshere, it's all come good.
I hate those quick bounces back up and down, though. Right? Like, we got Bournemouth, West Brom, Fulham, 1, 2, 3.
Watch out for Forest as well.
Yeah. Did you say watch out for Forest?
I did.
You
heard it here in October.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, Forest undefeated in their last 5. 4 straight wins. I mean, Sean knows something that we don't.
No. My best mate down here is a Forest fan. He's the happiest man. He's like a pig in shit at the moment since they took on Steve Cooper as their manager. We nearly drove to Bristol tonight to watch them play, actually.
Oh, we could have done a remote from Bristol.
It's an hour and 20 minutes from here, so we could have gone to see the Forest tonight. Yeah, but it was a bit too windy and rainy.
Oh,
just for all of you lower league lovers, we did not have too much time to discuss much today, but Chelsea West Brom tomorrow at 2:45 on ESPN Plus. If you don't want to watch Chelsea ruin Malmo in the Champions League, or Chelsea B-siders struggle and Chelsea win 1-0 at Malmo. Throw in the championship. West Brom, number 2 in the league. Swansea were in the playoff finals last year. Should be a good one.
All right. So, well, Stead, that went quick.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And besides, who wants to watch Chelsea B-side up against Malmo?
I won't be.
I mean, I'll be watching it, but like I almost feel an obligation to, so I could talk about it on this show. Although I haven't been asked to comment much on Chelsea.
We go back to just give them the money and just let Chelsea go through. Give Malmo the money.
Yes, but then we would miss the greatness that was Sheriff beating Real Madrid.
Yeah, but they got tonks, against Inter Milan today.
They got drubbed.
Oh, they got drubbed. Like, listen.
Yeah.
That club we went to the Bernabeu and won. You want us to follow up and go to the San Siro and win too?
No, I will make one small point, which is we were talking about the Saudis and their appalling human rights record and how this should never have been allowed to take over Newcastle. Why aren't Saudi kicked out of the World Cup? Because of their human rights record? There's a lot of hypocrisy that goes on. Sorry, I just thought I'd make that little point.
I mean, listen, there's enough hypocrisy in sports in general to go around. Why was I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to ask about that. As to why the Saudis aren't. I think, it's. I will say this. I think it's one to punish the people and the teams and the players and the fans. It's another to punish the leaders, right? Saying you can't have your national team in because of something that your leadership did to one of its citizens is one thing. And in no way, shape, or form did that recommend, in my humble opinion, represent domestic policy on the level that, say, apartheid did for South Africa, right? This was a visceral reaction from them towards a person or a people. But if you're going to start someplace, don't let their investment earn by a Premier League team, right? Like, that's a basic qualification. We can all get together there, right? So I think there is enough proof as to why they should not be able to own a Premier League football club. But even if they hadn't bought Newcastle, it's like, if it hadn't been Newcastle, it would have been Lyon. Pick team in other league that needs financial investment. Lyon, AC Milan has been owned by a hedge fund. I'm sure they would have sold for pennies on the dollar, right? So it was destined to happen. It was just like,
it'd have been more interesting if they'd have bought Berry and resurrected them from the dead, wouldn't it?
It'd been really interesting if they had bought, yes, Berry, or even tried to successfully do what our friend couldn't with Gretna, and take one of those teams that has absolutely no business being successful and make them successful. That way, we really could have complained about the fact, like, there is no chance that you would have been good if it wasn't for this money. But anyway, we are totally up against it. I want to thank Los and El Gato for coming on and talking a little bit about Spurs. Well, Los did most of the talking. El Gato just kind of sat there. Is it El Gato or La Gata?
El Gato.
Is El Gato?
El Gato.
Because I thought the cat was female.
Oh, well, Los calls her El Gato, so I don't know.
We want to thank Los and El Gato for coming on. Los did most of the talking. El Gato just sat there. And talking a little bit about Spurs. Thanks to Byron Robb for giving us the update on CONMEBOL qualifying, CONCACAF qualifying, and Bundesliga. Celtic Cam, I'm just mad at him because his teams are being successful right now and mine aren't. But enjoying victorious Scotland and Celtic. Larry, the insurance guy, coming on, sharing the wisdom about City, Chelsea Mike, giving us the lower league update and letting us know that Chelsea is still Chelsea. Of course, London Sean for being up way too early in the morning to come on and join us and talk a little bit. And Coach G, I almost forgot Coach G. Shouldn't have forgotten Coach G for joining us for the Arsenal chat. And as always, my partner in crime, with whom I will be going to watch the USA rugby team get curb stomped.
Oh, absolutely. It's
by
going to
the
be
All
ugly.
Blacks. Curb stomped.
We will surely give a recap of that game next week. Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure that the US will be competitive until the New Zealand does the haka.
And they will fold like lawn chairs in the wind.
After which, hey, remember when I said there wasn't a team that wore brown as a predominant color? I think we may see one on Saturday.
Well, considering the condition of FedEx Field too, it's going to be a big mud pit anyway. So yeah, those jerseys are going to be nice and brown when that game's over.
So the most interesting part of this game will be seeing New Zealand do the haka and then proceed to curb. But yes, for anybody who cares, I will be wearing USA gear. I thought about it, and then I said, no, it's the national team. And I can't wear one of my other rugby jerseys because a certain somebody instead who I do the podcast with is going to bust my ever-living you-know-whats for doing exactly that. So yes, I will be wearing US gear as we proceed to get curb stomped by the All Blacks at FedEx Field on Saturday. For the cast of the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, I'm Mike. It's been fun. We did all right this week, and we'll do better next week.